Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Democracy and the Rule of Law, a show where we delve deep into the critical issues of law, politics, and governance. And in today's episode, we'll be looking at the issue involving uh, value Airborne Airline concerning a passenger who harassed airline official and of course the subsequent treatment method to her. And obviously the NCCA had to take action by suspending her and even charging her for assault. So we'll look at all of this issue, also look at the issue involving Canadian courts and the declaration of some political parties as terrorist organization in Nigeria. These are the two issues we'll be looking at in today's episode. We already have our guests who are already seated in the studio this evening to help us make sense of all of these issues. Stay tuned. We'll be back shortly after this short break. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, you're on to your favorite program, Democracy and the Rule of Law. With me on the show this evening is Barrister Obiora Ume. Barrister Obiora, welcome you to the show this evening.
Thank you very much, and a very good evening to our esteemed viewers out there.
And also with me is Barrister Deji Olale. Barrister Deji, welcome you to to the program this evening.
It's a pleasure to be here once again.
All right. Without wasting much time, we'll delve into the nitty-gritty of today's issue. Of course, we'll look at the issue concerning involving value Airborne
Value
Air.
jet.
Yes, I think it's Airborne
Value
Air.
jet.
Airborne Air.
Okay, Airbom Air.
Yes, Airborne Air. Of course, it has raised a lot of dust. Where a passenger was seen, because the video circulated all over social media. And even the Minister of Aviation, His Excellency Festus Keyamo, had to issue some statements and also meted some punishment, concerning that. So of course, a lot of Nigerians have had opportunity, to feast on this issue, the issue of privacy, was the issue of switching off your phone on the flight, and the issue of assault, and of course the swiftness at which punishment were dished out, and of course the case was charged to court, has also been assuaged by the public. So what do you have to say concerning that issue? Of course.
Well, the issue has been in public domain for a while now since the incident, and Nigerians have expressed their views, and of course, we know that to every coin there are two sides. On the side of the Airbom Air, the action they took against the passenger, Comfort Emerson, appears to me to have been one, enforcement that was given without being heard. When you issue out a ban, a lap ban on a passenger, what it means is that you have penalized that person, you have applied sanction. And sanction can only be applied by the courts. She is not an officer, she's not an employee of the airline. And so it's not as if they are applying disciplining her. They applied sanction without giving her an opportunity to be heard properly in a court of law. Of course, we know from the law that says that you cannot condemn a person without him being heard. And that we got from the incident that happened at the Garden of Eden, when God, even though he knew that Adam already disobeyed, still asked him to defend himself. Issuing out life ban is apply sanction without hearing the person concerned, and that's the violation of the clear provisions of the Constitution of Nigeria as amended on the issue of fair hearing. Now, when good enough, the sanction has been lifted, the life ban has been lifted, there's no more sanction, and the case has equally been withdrawn from court. And of course, the twist in the tale is that presently the lady has received a lot of gifts, donation of land, and offer of employment and all that. But then the other side of the coin is this. When a passenger in an aircraft is directed to switch his or her phone for safety reasons, I think wisdom, prudence dictates that such a person should comply. We may not go into the issue of whether technologically it is safe or not safe to have the phones on during takeoff or landing. But I'm aware that each time I fly, they always tell us, the hostesses, to switch off your phone, and I always comply. If every other person has complied, why did she refuse? Because something caused the whole problem. The refusal or neglect or delay in switching off her phone. When it comes to, in fact, there was a time that I flew from Lagos to Asaba, and after the air hostess had directed everybody to switch his or her phone, the passenger by my side was busy, pressing his phone. I had to call the attention of the air hostess and look, this man has refused to switch off his phone. Safety is for everybody's interest and benefit, and so anything that has to do with safety must not be compromised. Although some people have said that in other jurisdictions, especially in international flights, they don't bother about switching off phone or not switching off phone, and you just go. But we may not be there yet. So if here, for purpose of safety of passengers, everybody is asked to switch off his or her phone for takeoff of the aircraft and landing purposes, why do somebody refuse to comply?
All right.
So that is the other side of the coin.
All right, Mr. Deji, what's your assessment of how Mrs. Emerson was treated, particularly regarding the public exposure on viral footage? Of course, I was saying in the public, the NBA has had cause to condemn those actions. So, what is your opinion concerning how she was particularly treated? Because we saw that her nude pictures were exposed, and of course, no other person would have had those except the staffs of the airline in question. So what is your...
Well, thank you very much. It's so baffling, the manner of handling of this particular incident. And it calls for both parties, all those who are involved, to either learn one lesson or the other on how to manage unruly passengers or passengers that have become a threat to the peace and security of the aircraft. Unfortunately, the procedure had been in place over time, that in cases of navigation, to have interference with signals, okay, and the radar system for navigation, passengers are asked to switch off their phone. And it's a safety measure, it's a security measure that ordinarily is expected that everyone should comply, as my good brother has said. And of course, once you get into the airspace, you are free to put on your phone. But for the initial takeoff and the landing, you are often required to switch off so that it does not interfere with the signals and the communication of the pilot. So, and some people have said that the way the issue arose, that the air hostess actually is also complicit in the manner of approach to the lady. Of course, I read the testimony of a young man who was also on that flight, who was sitting next to the lady, who said that actually the attitude of the lady was triggered off by the way the air hostess, came against her and all of that. But whatever reason, I think there's a modicum of respect, modicum of character that is required even when we are dealing with the public. And those of them who are air hostesses and those who manage the aircraft also have a duty to persuade passengers, to explain to them why some of these procedures are required, not to coerce, not to impose their will. That's on one side. Then on the other side, the lady also, maybe as a result of provocation, decided that she was not going to switch off her phone and all of that, leading to that fracas and that incident. But talking about the treatment of this lady, I think it's unfair, it's not right for them to do all that they did within a short time against this lady in terms of the use of force and coercion in terms of the fact that she was immediately bundled, charges were arranged without even listening to her side of the story. The organization should have taken time, to discuss the matter, because you are talking about your customer here. You are talking about the public here. All right. You are talking about people who are perhaps your clients in the business that you are running, in the sphere of your business. So I think less force should have been used than the way the whole thing went. And then the indignity of treatment that she was put into. The fact that even without serious protocol, she was just thrown into the Kirikiri cell without due process, without completion of the trial, or even without proper opportunity for her
She was granted.
to bail herself.
She was granted bail.
Yes, she was. I know she was
bail.
arraigned. I know she was
properly
arraigned.
And granted bail. Granted bail.
Yes.
But she couldn't comply with the bail treatment.
Yes.
And
You
of
couldn't
course,
meet up with the bail conditions.
of course, a lot of people have also complained about the inequality of treatment between that incident and that of the Kwamwan incident, where in one case, somebody who had committed even a more heinous and more serious crime, international crime, was left to just roam about and to, without any recrimination, without any reprehension, without any arrest, without anything. And at the end, the government is making him an ambassador of the face of security of the aircrafts in Nigeria. So you wonder, what exactly are we doing as a nation? Why should we have this kind of inequality of treatment? On one side, somebody is treated so shabbily using the instrumentation of the law, and on the other side, another person is left to go off the hook.
All right. So people want to ask if Ms. Comfort might have a case against the airline, because going by the fact that she was stripped naked and her nude picture was circulated online.
Already, I read in the social media that already filed a suit in court demanding 600 million or billion or something for indignities she was subjected to. Yes, that the matter had already been filed from what I read in social media. And before this week rolls up, we'll get more details about it. But actually, what happened is this: one, like my very good friend and brother said, that case shows what is prevalent in our criminal justice system: unequal treatment of people that are alleged to have committed similar offenses.
But of course, some people argue that they are not similar offenses. That Ms. Comfort was very disruptive in the airline.
Now the other man,
The crime is even worse.
who went and
Blocked a plane. Hijack. That's a hijack.
And some even say that smacks of terrorism.
Yes. Hostage taking.
And that was such a thing that, but because of his status in society, because of his wealth and personality, he was given 6 months ban, which of course has been reduced to 1 month. And he was not arrested, and he was not arraigned in court, and all that and all that. Whereas the other lady, because she was relatively unknown, incognito, was handled, her privacy is exposed, and you see, it shows that that what we say that there's equality before the law is just in words, in letters. In actual fact, it's not so. And some have even argued that the law is such that the big criminals get away. The smaller ones are caught by the web of the law.
All right.
But that argument may not always be true, because we have seen even very powerful individuals arrested and subjected to trial and all that, especially by the EFCC. Although the accusation that what the FCC is doing maybe selective apprehension and
Prosecution.
prosecution. Is still there. There was what some people are postulating is that in Nigeria today, if you belong to a particular divide, then
You are above the law.
You are above the law. Your sins are covered. Nothing will happen to you. But you don't belong there. You'll be hounded and dealt with. So that is for that. Then concerning the lady's position of going to court, like I said, I've read that she had already gone to court to, claim damages for the wrong done to her, and that the process should get compensated and heal over time. Well, if that is the case, the court will decide if she decides to allow the case to run its course. But like I said earlier, safety demands that you comply with safety instructions. If every other person has complied, why would she not want to comply? And if, God forbid, there is interference in the communication system of the aircraft with the radar and the navigation system, and there's a mishap, or the aircraft has any issue, the lives of all the passengers on board will be at risk.
All right. Mr. Deji, of course, this incident happened. The aircraft have successfully landed.
Yes.
So it wasn't a case where the aircraft wanted to land, because most people have issue on how the case was handled,
Yes.
since the aircraft had already landed. So I think the issue was for the lady to wait, maybe for the security agencies to take her maybe for questioning and all of that, which obviously she refused to do, and she was bundled out. So many people have asked if there was a way the security agencies would have balanced the issue of security and the dignity of the human person in handling that particular scenario. And so many people have also said that the actions of the regulators could be justified, because we'll see so many individuals who cause
saying that you are arresting or detaining somebody. And I think that's where the aircraft and the security people missed it. The question of the privacy of that person. Yes, you can arrest somebody. Yes, you can use force to ensure the arrest of somebody who had committed a crime on board, or even within the premises of the airline. But what measure of force do you use? And of course, you see that even what the lady did, the assault on the lady is far above the assault that she meted out to the air hostess. So the question is, how do you balance up the interests of both parties to the point that you don't violate the right of somebody or the right of persons to guaranteed under the Constitution? Because there is actually a difference between assault, all right, and violation of fundamental right of person, the right of person against degrading treatment, okay, and indignities under our law. They are two different things. And I think what this lady is pursuing now is a justified cause, to the point that you use force beyond what is required to effect an arrest, to the point of even tearing address and a private part showing. And somebody is releasing that even to the members of the public. I think it's rather brutish and very crude force that was used there. So to that extent, the airline too is culpable.
All right, they are culpable. But of course, given the fact that both the Kwan 1 and Kwan 2 have been pardoned, by the relevant
that's another perfidy. That's another perfidy
authority. So what do you have to say? Because of course, with this sharing of forgiveness by the minister, so many people have also questioned that concerning aviation and people being incentivized to behave in such manner again. So what do you have to say?
Now, the property will have been for government to allow the order of things in all the issues. Even if there is going to be settled in court, it should not be an administrative settlement. It should not be an executive settlement, the way we are going about it now. A settlement where you find some people somewhere, just give instruction, go and withdraw the charge, palliate this person, do this, without the court.
But don't
Now,
you think that
they should have,
the position of government
yes,
is to kind of, control the damage already done from this angle? The first incident that happened that concerned one, there was no arrest. There was no detention. There was no rough handling.
So they should have done, they should have ensured that is done also.
Now.
Even the aftermath.
The second one, there was rough handling, there was arrest, there was detention, there was arraignment. Now, the government have been confronted with a situation where two persons, this similar thing that had to do with the aviation industry, one was not arrested, detained, or arraigned, the other one was not. And then it will amount to exposing the inequalities in our system if this prosecution has gone on against comfort. Well, nothing happened. And that was why the IG had to really direct that the incident of one should be properly investigated.
You know,
and police will
now, look, if you ask me my view,
the government has now tried to see how this issue could be laid to rest so as not to bring to the fore this inequality.
Yeah, but one could have seen
they could have arrested. They should have arrested Kwanwan to now face that charge. They should have arrested him.
Action.
Which action? There was no action. Was he arrested?
They have not finally apprehended him. But
can they apprehend him?
Of the IG after that of comfort, because it was after the people were now raising.
So are you suggesting that
look, the
one is bigger than the law because of one?
It's not about the law. That's what you are saying.
Forgiven.
Now I want to even say this.
The issue is
Kenneth,
that everybody knows.
Kenneth,
I said earlier that in Nigeria, the status of an individual goes a long way.
Should it be so?
It's not supposed to be so.
So the point I'm making is this. The point I'm making.
That, everybody is equal before
you see, once you set a wrong precedent that some people are better Nigerians than others. Once you set a wrong precedent that yes, then we are in an animal farm, a state of nature.
Animal farm precedent.
Yes, and I want to believe that it's even because they don't want to punish Kwanwan that the Kwantu is forgiven. Because they don't want to go all four with what they did to comfort, what has been done to her. That's why they quickly came in and then tried to appear as if they are remedying the situation.
Because this one was even a life ban and this one was 6 months.
Yes.
So there was even disparity between the bans.
The life ban was issued quickly, and in addition to the life ban, there was arraignment and
for comfort.
Quickly.
Prosecution.
So look,
the charges
Ume, I agree with you. I agree with you that maybe government wanted to quickly manage the crisis.
Of course,
if they want to manage the crisis, the proper thing is to follow the law, because there is equality under the law. The proper thing is to follow the law. Now that you know that you ought to have arrested Kwanwan, then you go ahead and pick Kwanwan and charge him to court also, and let him face that consequences, so that other people who think that they are big men in this country or above the law will not take the position of Kwanwan, because it will appear as if you are now permitting somebody who is highly placed to commit that kind of crime, and then you come with administrative remedies and directives to be able to resolve it. It's not good for any society if we run our society that way. The law should follow its course.
You recall that in America, the current president of America, Donald Trump, whilst in his other tenure, was subjected to criminal trial.
Exactly.
The president of a nation.
Exactly.
Not just any other nation, but a nation that prides him as the greatest nation on earth.
That's what democracy is all about. That's what the rule of law is all about.
In court.
So
that's the rule of law.
So you're suggesting that this set a dangerous precedent.
It's a dangerous precedent we have set for a nation like Nigeria.
Is it the rule of law?
Because one of the pillars of rule of law, the equality of
law, the rule of law.
Citizen of Nigeria before the law. But we saw that when the incident of what happened, the law
was standing still.
Was not smooth to arrest him, detain him, or arraign him in any court of law.
Yeah.
But when the incident of comfort happened,
they quickly with
arrest, rough handling, arraignment, and detention. That shows you that actually that the claim of equality before the law
Does not exist.
may be a mirage. But we pray for a society where there's actual equality before the law. But is it really the same? We have seen instances where someone that stole bread or something
maltreated.
similar was given years of imprisonment. But someone that stole billions of pension funds.
They do plea bargaining.
Pension funds.
They do plea bargaining.
Was so you discover that the reality is that there is actually no equality before the law. But that is what we are crusading. Let there be equality before the law.
And it's a bane of our society.
Justice and even-handed justice.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
All right. Let there be equality before the law. This is where we'll draw the curtain on that particular topic. We'll go on a very short break, and when we come back, we'll look at the ruling of the Canadian court concerning the two most illustrious parties in Nigeria, the APC and PDP. Of course, there have been a lot of divergent view on that ruling, but we will look at it in depth when we return from this break. Stay tuned.